Alright, you guys have had a couple weeks now to dive into your own campaigns, try stuff out, and make it to the conclusion of the narrative. You know Bellakor's in the game, you know he's the main antagonist, and you've seen his implementation in the finale. If you're anything like me, you're likely not very satisfied with how things worked out for him, and were maybe left wanting more. So today, I want to talk about everything related to the Dark Master, and what the future for the first Demon Prince should hold. Because I can tell you right now, we have not seen the last of him, and just like in the narrative, he'll begin his life cycle but a shadow of his final form. I have not played the prologue or watched the cinematics there, and I've heard nothing but good things from that side of the game, but as for the Realms of Chaos story, I actually wasn't a huge fan of it. It felt a bit bare bones, and I was largely disconnected from it. I didn't feel any emotional investment or excitement in following the story whatsoever. I remember loving the twist in Game 2, and getting super pumped with cinematics like the opening Vampire Coast cutscene, but when Belakor showed up in Warhammer 3, I didn't get that same kind of buzz, and I think part of it is because I knew the capacity in which he was made playable. His current implementation is very strange. Spoiler warning, I guess. I mean, it's not really a spoiler when Creative Assembly tells you what's up in official announcements before the game's even out, but just in case someone gets mad at me for no reason, spoiler warning. When you beat the campaign and defeat Belakor in the Forge of Souls, you prevent his ascension to godhood, and you force him into servitude, eternally bound to your faction as one of your generals, always to follow, never to lead, which is a fun little callback to his original punishment from the Chaos Gods, and his eternal curse is the one who bears the crown of Ever-Chosen, but never wears it, forced to coronate, but never wield. And for the Chaos factions, this makes a lot of sense, because if you're Scarbrand, and Khorne has won the great game, your pillar of the Ruinous Pantheon is in the ascendancy. You absolutely have the power to subjugate Belakor and make him a part of your faction. And that's something that maybe the demons would want to do. The problem is how this works for the Order factions, because as Cathay, or Kislev, or the Ogre Kingdoms, it doesn't make any goddamn sense whatsoever. Take Kislev, for example. This evil freaking demon from the Warp, the bane of mankind, just imprisoned, enslaved, and murdered your god Ursun. So you go into the Realms of Chaos to avenge him, you kill all the demons you can get your hands on, you fight this shadowy monster to the death, and then you recruit him to lead your armies? What? What is the logic there? I don't understand. Why would any Order faction ever trust him or use Belakor the Dark Master in any capacity? That is some heretical shit. That is almost guaranteed to backfire on you and get you and your people killed. Both Fantasy and 40k teach us that cavorting with demons, allowing even a sliver of chaos to enter your heart, will corrupt you for eternity. Even the prologue, in which Belakor plays a huge role, teaches us that. So, to see Katerin or Kastaltin jump on board that train feels very immersion-breaking and frankly, illogical. You really think Miao Ying, an eternal dragon, would be okay with making Belakor one of her generals? Probably not, right? You would rain hellfire upon him for killing your god, and for being an evil Dark Lord, not force him into servitude. It doesn't make any sense. Now personally, I'm not worried about the rewards for beating the campaign at all. I find the whole Shenzhou should have been the reward for Cathay, Boris should have been the reward for Kislev, Belakor should have been the reward for Chaos, and all of them should have been playable legendary lords with unique skill trees on day one. Argument kind of ridiculous. Give them an inch and they'll take a mile, as they say. CA does something cool that's extra, adds more than what people were expecting, and then people are like, well, why didn't you do more? No, there were already more legendary lords than was promised initially. CA clearly had enough issues working with the content that was already in the game. The idea that Shenzhou and Belakor and Boris should have also all been playable on top of Daniel the Demon Prince and had their own unique models and skill trees and start positions on day one is a bit silly, especially looking at the state the game is in right now. As soon as we saw how the story played out, it was obvious his inclusion as a playable legendary lord in the Realms of Chaos campaign from turn 1 didn't make a whole lot of sense. The narrative doesn't work, the cutscenes don't work if you are playing as Belakor, which is exactly why we got Daniel in the first place, because of those cool customization elements to tie everything back into the prologue and to give us a Demon Prince vehicle to take on the Dark Master. But with that said, people are right to want more from Belakor specifically, and he's certainly deserving of it. There is zero question in my mind that he will be made playable in Immortal Empires. I guarantee it. Will he be paid DLC, you ask? No, absolutely not. Not in a million years. He doesn't need any special units. He just needs a Demons of Chaos Undivided subfaction that already has a name, the Shadow Legion, an icon that's already in the game, and a start position. And that will come with the combined campaign, maybe even on day one of Immortal Empires. Now personally, I wouldn't mind if they wait until there's a big lull with nothing going on to unveil him, because having two big launches like Mortal Empires and LAKOR at the same time would kind of overshadow each other. But whenever it happens, it is going to happen. And when it does, he will be a free LC update, a free lord that comes as part of a bigger patch. So where would he start in the combined campaign? What mechanics should he have? And what needs to change for him going forward? Well, LAKOR is tied heavily to Albion in a roleplay campaign from 6th edition called Dark Shadows, funnily enough. Hard to know how much of that has been fully retconned, but in the end, I don't think it really matters. They draw inspiration from Oldhammer and retcon sources all the time, and in this situation, I can't really think of a better spot for him to begin his conquest than Albion. You can't start in the Forge of Souls. We don't even know if that will be part of the combined campaign at all, and we don't even know the Realms of Chaos will be on the map for Immortal Empires. So the Citadel of Lead on Albion it is. It's a sacred temple that LAKOR used as his base to build up power and acquire magics to regain his corporeal form. He corrupted the sorcerers of Albion, the Truesayers, creating dark emissaries with which to break open the Ohm shards and imbue himself with power. And from there, a dark shadow fell across the land, starting from his ominous fortress. You can see a lot of the inspiration taken from that story in Warhammer 3's narrative. A lot of that got carried over. Some of it would carry over to the combined campaign as well. But if Albion is to be his start position, we have to figure out what to do with Nakai the Wanderer and Rakarth the Beastlord, because those two legendary lords already inhabit it. Because Albion is not big enough for the three of them. You can really put Nakai anywhere, and you can put Rakarth anywhere, but if I had to choose, I'd say move Rakarth to a different area of the map, maybe a Game 3 starting area in search of beasts to tame, and make Albion a Nakai vs LAKOR stomping ground. Nakai is an anti-chaos character known for killing demons during the Siege of Itza. LAKOR has some history with the Lizardmen, particularly when he got his head bashed in by a boulder from Tic-Tac-Toe, and I guess if they're worried about one or the other dying off too early, they could move Nakai off Albion as well. But yes, the Citadel of Lead is the most logical start position for LAKOR and would give him a lot of flexibility in the combined campaign. From a battle and model perspective, I don't think there's much in need of changing here, except maybe the inanimate skull and chain combo dangling from his wings, which does not look great. I get why people would have preferred his newest model to make him a bit darker, bit bigger, maybe a bit more imposing, and I would not be averse to CA changing that in the slightest, but frankly, I don't think there's anything wrong with his older model here, and he looks pretty much exactly how I would have expected. Intimidating, swole, beastly, you name it. He looks like the main bad guy, as befitting of his rank and lore. I like his model right now. I think it could be improved, but I wouldn't expect it, and frankly, I don't need it. He blows Daniel out of the water in terms of stats and general combat performance too. He has really strong abilities, a powerful lore of magic, he's a potent duelist, and is one of the scariest lords currently in Warhammer 3. He's balanced quite well. What needs changing is his skill tree, which is very obviously not finished in its current form. Completely lacking a red tree for buffing his armies, and missing the army and campaign-wide unique skills that are so important for differentiating lords. Now I kind of see what CA was going for here, because LAKOR is all about himself, so maybe that's why they felt they shouldn't give him skills that make his armies better, but the reality is, you can say that for any of the greater demons except maybe Kugath, and all of them still have unique skills that grant dramatic benefits to their respective factions. Like Skarbrand and Kairos don't give a single shit about their underlings, but still have amazing unique skills that make them all way better on the campaign map and in battle. So I can't imagine a truly finished skill tree for LAKOR would be lacking in those elements. The reality is they probably were just like, we don't know which faction is going to win here, so giving them a red tree is going to be awkward. We can't say, oh, it needs to buff Kislev this and coordinate that, so they just didn't bother with it at all. Logically, I think the Soul Grinder shtick should carry over from the Realms of Chaos campaign, as they're technically some of the only demons truly serving Chaos Undivided, even though they're all still marked by their OG gods, so big bonuses to upkeep and combat performance for Soul Grinders would make a lot of sense, considering that is the realm he rules in the Game 3 campaign. And in terms of his campaign mechanics overall, a conflict with Archaon for the Crown of Domination would be a really nice touch. So what I'm thinking here is his quest battle finale would be a showdown with Archaon, where the energies you gathered from the Ohm Stones would give you enough power to break free from the Chaos God's curse, renounce the coronation of Daedric Kastner, and fight him for the right to wear the Crown of Domination. And then if you beat him, maybe you get access to some or all of the Warriors of Chaos roster as well, uniting the demonic and warrior factions together into one super race in the second half of your playthrough. And I don't mean like the roster you have for Daniel, the Demon Prince, currently in Chaos Undivided right now. I'm talking like the full Warriors of Chaos roster also becomes available. So Dragon Ogre Shaggus, Dragon Ogres, Gorby's Chariots, all that stuff. I think that would be pretty sick and thematic. It'd be in keeping with the goals he has in Warhammer Fantasy lore to become the true, undisputed Ever-Chosen. So, no matter what happens, the current form of LAKOR is but a taste of the feast yet to come, and he has the potential to be one of, if not the coolest free LCs in the history of Mortal Empire. So, I cannot wait to see his implementation in the combined campaign, and a fully fleshed out LAKOR will only make this game better. So, let me know what you'd like to see from the Dark Master as we move forward, and I'll see you all in the next video. Indie Pride, signing out for now. Have a good one, guys.